This film provides insights into the work of the Bodelschwingh Foundation Bethel. Over the course of 150 years, a small institution in Bielefeld has grown into a Christian social welfare organization that is active in 8 German federal states.
Our society accepts people with disabilities. This is evident on a very fundamental level.
When I ask, why did you choose to come to us in particular? First, because you're Bethel. Second, because you offer everything in the hospital.
Providing Christian services also furthers one's own development.
I find that today is a much bigger responsibility.
It's breathtaking how much has changed. I got sick around about 11 years ago. I decided to have surgery, which was only moderately successful. The epilepsy remained, and after 10 years I was recommended for another surgery, and so I accepted this offer. In Germany, people think of Bethel as the place where epilepsy and the care of people with epilepsy are approached with great professionalism. And the reason is that Bethel was originally founded precisely for epileptics. People with epilepsy were the first target group to be brought here to Bethel. The general assumption in the conservative region of Minden-Ravensberg was that people who get sick should be cared for within the family. And then there was a discussion about what we can do to ensure that people who have epilepsy continue to receive help.
A very influential idea. In the 19th century, Bethel was already sending potassium bromide, the only epilepsy medication available at the time, to patients all over the world. Mara, the first specialized hospital for epilepsy, was opened in the 1920s.
Our clinic's areas of focus and our special skills lie in caring for people with multiple disabilities and epilepsy. The second really big step here at Bethel was the courageous decision to bring epilepsy surgery here in the late 1980s. Since then, Bethel has continued every year to develop further in the area of epilepsy surgery, and it is now the largest center for epilepsy surgery in Germany. We have a very special focus in the area of neuropediatrics, epileptology for children. If a person's life can proceed without seizures from a very early age onward, the developmental possibilities are quite different than if seizures are not eliminated until a patient is an adolescent or adult. Quality of life has definitely increased very dramatically. I can leave the house without being afraid of having a seizure. I can just be alone with my children. That's worth a lot. You could say it's priceless these days. I have my own one-bedroomed apartment. I have my own key for my apartment upstairs and for the building's front door. If there's gardening to be done here, I help out in the garden a bit. And it's fun too.
For me
personally, independence itself plays a big role. People need that. You need to be able to live autonomously, to leave the house at any time, go in and out. And that's a sense in which I can now live independently and autonomously. That's an important argument. Well, first of all, the old Bethel really operated on the basis of the principle of exclusion, creating a special world because people couldn't remain in the outside world anymore. So first there was exclusion, and then there was a special world in which inclusion was created. So the old caregiving relationship has paternalistic characteristics, you could say. There's a house mother, a deaconess, or a house father, a deacon. And if he's married, then they are house parents and basically run a Christian household. And then there are the patients or the residents, and they are like the children. Old Bodelschwingh, in fact, actually called them our dear children. For them, we were the ones in charge. I'd say that's how it was. And also the ones who took care of them. That was also our role.
Really, we lived there with them. The residents came to our home too, and we essentially had an open home. At first it was a little stressful for me, but afterwards we did it for 10 years and then it was just how it was. For our kids too.
Today, putting down roots here isn't the main thing, although it's no doubt important to many of those who have to stay here. Of course, it's always important that they feel at home here, but today people try to see each individual, to ask what each person needs and how he or she could develop. It seems to me that the intention, at least, is to always ask the people who live here what they want. These days, we talk about relationships being among equals.
Well, I've seen people who at first really needed to be hospitalised and then achieved independence, who've learned to handle things when it hadn't necessarily been taken for granted for them, to have a television in their own room, or to go to the kitchen, open the fridge and take out something to eat. Those were things that really needed to be practiced. You had to keep at it and make it clear to people, you own this, this is your own life, you can take charge of this space.
I ride my bike to work every day. I go to the shed and get my bike down, and then I ride here. I do it all on my own. I get here before 7 a.m. I put my things down, clock in every morning and go up to do my work. And then I come here and help out here. The goal is to adapt the technology better to us human beings, including via support offerings. But not just support, also to open up possibilities for activation that can help meet the societal challenges, above all the demographic shift. We're all going to enter an era in which older people make up a very large segment of the population, and we have to find good ideas for the places where there are problems, so that caregivers' work becomes more manageable. So they get support via technical systems that relieve them of routine tasks, and thereby open up space for interpersonal interactions. Here we find ourselves next to a bed of peat moss. This is among the innovations developed here at Bethel. Patients lie on peat moss produced right here at the institution, through the draining of moors. And if the patient had wet the bed at night, you could remove the damp spot the next day, and the patient could lie on it again after the area was refilled and covered with a sheet. This is representative of the endless chain of innovations that kept developing. Some innovations turn out later not to be so beneficial, but overall you can say that in this way experiences with the care of a wide range of patient groups have been gathered for 150 years and continue to be gathered today. This experience is implemented in many different ways. Sometimes it's implemented legislatively, or with regard to how the rooms are set up, or with regard to therapeutic devices, which now include electronic therapeutic aids. A great deal of knowledge has been accumulated here over a very long period of time, and that includes learning from mistakes. I like it here, being outside in the fresh air all day. Somewhere else, you'd just be inside all day. When the trailer is full, then it goes in, and then we unload it, inside again, and then go out again, and get the next load. It was important to us to have a challenging area of work here and to do it with trained employees, that is, with specialists like gardeners and horticulturalists, and on the other hand with people with disabilities who come from our facilities, as well as from the region. And I think the mix is what makes the difference here. So that's what's special about our workshops here too.
In the early years, agricultural work was already used to give the residents purpose and structure. A little later, handicraft enterprises were then added, work instead of arms.
I also think taking away the pressure to perform is an important task. It's possible to work very efficiently, even if you're not constantly being told that you have to produce a certain number of products. And I think conveying the idea of participation, with whatever abilities you have, is a very important task. and that the topic of competition is actually not the main topic for us at all. Well, I really like coming here. I have to say I do, but for me, of course, it makes sense, because I know the profession and liked working in it. So for me, doing this here isn't a burden at all. I do always remind myself that production could be higher, but I realize that more isn't possible, or I can't do more anyway, and that's just how it is.
I am the head of the Workshop Council. We meet once a month to discuss topics that are very important to us. For example, the topic of how we could help people here even better. It's really nice that there's a sheltered workshop like this. We definitely wouldn't have been able to work in the outside world.
Bethel can look back over more than 150 years of history, and education and training has been a part of that from the very beginning.
The most important thing for me when I come to work is interacting with people, caring for people and knowing that they are doing well in the situation they find themselves in.
It's something to do with Bethel. It's something to do with the fact that Bethel really offers a lot, that the hospital offers a lot, as does Bethel as a whole. Of course, young people experience this complexity in the hospital in particular. A few years ago, only 1 or 2 or at most 3 infusions were given at a time, even in the intensive care unit. Today we have equipment that makes it possible to administer 10 medications at a time, or even more.
Starting in 1870, Friedrich von Bodelschwingh led the Institution for Epileptics and the Deaconess Mother House. Less than 10 years later, in addition to Sarepta, Nazareth was added, creating a community of male deacons. Both communities still represent the Christian nature of the services being provided.
The provision of Christian welfare services really does have a special meaning here at Bethel. We're a diaconic enterprise, and I think that's really visible at all levels. I'm myself a deacon. The very first young man to perform alternative civilian service in Germany started his service in 1961 here at Bethel. A year of service at Bethel definitely offers young people a diverse array of opportunities. It continues to be very attractive. This year, 1,500 young people applied here, and it's a great opportunity for young people to find out, after completing school, what it's like to work in social services, to try things out for a year after completing school. During my year at Bethel, I realized that I'm really cut out for working with people, and also that I really thrived there, and it's really the right thing for me. And so I decided, after my year at Bethel, to start training professionally as a healthcare provider and nurse.
We offer continuing education, from specialised intensive care to mentorship, as well as academic training here at the University of Applied Science for Diaconia, a bachelor's or master's degree in psychiatric nursing and nursing education. There's really a very broad range of opportunities.
Education has played a role from the very beginning. There was a school for the boys and girls. Then came the attempt to provide them with training or a job whenever possible.
And it's thanks to Bethel's people that in the 1960s and 70s, education became mandatory even for children with disabilities. This had fundamental consequences. After all, mandatory education means that children with disabilities now have the right to attend school.
About 50 years ago, we proved here at Bethel, under laboratory-like conditions, that it's possible to provide lessons for these children. Even people with very severe disabilities have the opportunity to receive schooling. Here, they have always been included in school. Here, people with disabilities of varying severity have always been brought into lessons and courses, in separate schools, supportive schools, in institutional schools. This schooling experience led to a great deal of insight and knowledge. We decided on this school because we think that our sons' abilities are supported best here, and that the opportunities at the school here are simply optimal. We tried it out a few times. We visited a regular school, and we always noticed that it results in a little parallel world. From our perspective, children with disabilities just aren't 100% part of the class at a regular school, at least not when it's a mental disability. We do everything in class. For example, reading. For example, writing. For example, doing puzzles.
That was really decisive for us, the feeling that our son Leander is right in the middle of things here, really involved and not on the margins, but just really right in the middle of everything. I think there are many, many aspects in which I think a regular school just can't provide as much.
Today we are considering how such children can be brought into inclusive learning situations. We're just at the beginning here, and it may well be that in 20 to 30 years we will be able to say that yes, indeed, inclusive education works with severely disabled people too. I feel really good here. I'm very surprised in a positive way. Yes, here I have everything I could wish for.
Even very early on, retired deaconesses and deacons lived at Bethel in retirement homes. What used to be intended as an old age provision for employees is now acquiring increased importance in society as a whole.
Care for the elderly is still a growing market in Germany, no question about that. I think that in today's society in particular, families can no longer attend to their relatives as much as they may have done in earlier eras. And then they, of course, have to depend on facilities where their loved ones can be housed in such a way that family members can come and visit, but can also leave again with a good conscience. Then you have to specialize with an inpatient facility or offer special services like what we do with our assistive technologies.
It helps the residents, as I said, support for the residents. Independence, helping the resident to remain independent, but it's also something positive for the employee. Christian social welfare work is an important part of that. We're a diaconic facility, and that of course means that we also take care of the residents' spiritual needs. We hold worship services here every week. We're always available for conversations. We visit everyone who moves in. I visit everyone on their birthday. And whenever someone has a problem or would like to discuss something, someone from the Pastoral Services Office is available.
Nicht nur eine Läsion zu entfernen, sondern die Epilepsie zu beheben.
We have been working for 150 years to put Christian brotherly and sisterly love into practice in the daily lives of our fellow human beings. But it's also about progress. This world keeps developing, and Bethel will keep developing too. We want to use contemporary ideas to answer the questions of the future.
150 years of Bethel, being there for people.